And I commend everybody who's doing this stuff for whatever reason that you're doing it. But if you're reaching out to me and you want to get better, okay, I'm telling you that competing will get you better and a lot faster because you're going to find out what you're not good at. Okay, right. So am I telling you that you're a loser, that you don't compete? No. If that's what you're hearing from me, okay, then that's on you. It's not on me. I didn't call you one. I'm not telling you that you are. All those sorts of things. That's you. That's your insecurities. Those are your problems, and you need to work through those. Hey guys, I want to talk to you today about competition. So, how can it help you improve um, your skill sets, right, to getting better at these things? So, a lot of it is going to come down to if you know you're going to compete and you probably going to change a few things around in terms of your preparation for competition, right? So like in wrestling, it's just part of the culture, right? You don't wrestle in your youth particularly, right? When most people do it because for fun, right? Like most people do it because then you end up, I talked about this before about the peer pressure, right? You want to be the best on the team. You want to be the starter so that you can compete, right? Because it's all centered around the competition. What it ends up doing is it definitely builds a very strong mindset. You have to be tough because it's going to happen and you have to face your fears and you can't make excuses all the time, right? Because that's really, really common. I see people making excuses all the time about why they can't compete, right? And the excuses seem really valid until you actually start to break them apart a little bit and then look at the actual logic and reason behind it. Okay. Most of people don't compete because they're scared. Okay. Now, if you're somebody who just wants to go to jujitsu because you just want an exercise, right? And that's it, that's cool. But a lot of people, they go to jujitsu and they say, like, I want to do this for self-defense. But then it's like you want to prepare for the worst, right? You want to prepare for a real fight, but then you're afraid to get into a simulated fight, right? So why is that disconnected? Well, I'm going to tell you that in judo, right, in wrestling, I've had over 1,000 matches in competition, and I just started competing in judo. Okay, but I could talk to you about wrestling forever, but let me talk to you about judo first, and I can compare the two. Like when you lock up with somebody in judo in a real match, dude, you realize how different it is, the gripping when somebody's fear is high, right? When they've got a lot of adrenaline and they want to get this match over with. They want to throw you. You know what I mean? They want this match to be over with and they're going to go 100%. It's totally different. And it's like that in wrestling competition too, where in practice, you might be like, oh man, I'm getting stuffed under the single. Well, I'll let go. But in competition, you're like, well, if I let go, right, then, he might spin behind me and take my back, and then I'm going to lose or whatever. I'm going to lose points at a minimum, right? And then I'm going to eventually lose, right? And in jujitsu, you might be like in a competition. Well, if I'm stuck under here, right, if you're deep enough, it can't choke you from there, right? But then that's something that you should know, okay? Like, don't just let go of the leg because now you're in choke city, right? But if you might be like, oh, I don't want to let go of this because if he spins behind me, right, then he's going to take my back and choke me, right? So you end up just going so hard. It's so different, okay? And it teaches you where your holes are in your game, right? So, like for me, I haven't had time to edit and post this yet, and I will. I went up against a young black belt in a judo competition I was in last at the state tournament, and he shut down a lot of what I was trying to do because man, he just pinned his elbow so tight like that. All the stuff that I normally do, I couldn't get going on him. And in practice, I don't run into that because I just like that's not happening. So if it was like about self-defense, if you think practice is self-defense, then you're lying to yourself. That's just so that you know. I'm not telling you that you have to compete. I know that I'm going to get a bunch of responses already about why people are just going to respond to my title and tell me all the list of reasons why they can't compete. I'm going to tell you something that maybe you don't want to hear, but this is my point of my channel is just to tell you the truth. Okay. I've coached wrestling for a long, long time and I wrestled for a long, long time. Okay. This is 34 years I've been grappling. Most people are afraid. They're afraid of all sorts of things. They're afraid of a lot of times it's just literally the fatigue. You're scared of getting that tired. You're scared of losing because you're afraid of what it's going to make you feel like. Okay, because and you haven't settled that part of yourself. You haven't settled that ego. You may never settle it all the way, right? But it's an ongoing thing, and you probably should compete so that you can put yourself in situations that are scary and then learn how to battle through them, right? And the preparation. You don't really want to work that hard. You got to get in good shape if you're going to compete, right? Because it's going to be hard out there and stuff. But most of it is fear-based. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, GSP had talked about this too, and I totally agree with him. Like, I hadn't competed in a long time because when my wrestling career ended and I went on to do my academic career, right? Like I wasn't competing in wrestling anymore, but I was coaching and stuff. But then I stepped back on the mat, right, in judo 20 something years later, and I was like, oh, here's that feeling again, right? It's all of it. It's it's awesome. I mean, it's everything, right? It's there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of adrenaline, right? Like and there's like that sense of urgency, and it's before you even walk out to fight, right? But it's just like you're walking out on the mat and like, oh, here we go, you can't back out now, right? And there's excitement because I'm crazy and right, probably a crazy wrestler, so it's exciting, fun in a weird way, and also terrifying and sucks, right? All at the same time. And so if you learn how to deal with that, right, it's extremely good for your mental side of everything. Because if you can like prepare for these things and do them and then be okay with the outcome because you put all your effort into it and all this stuff, it's going to benefit you as a human being. And if you really want to get better at these arts, right? If you really want to get better at these things, if that is your goal, right? And this is what this video is for, because people ask me all the time how they can get better. I'm trying to tell you how to get better then, right? Then competition is a very good reason for it. Otherwise, what are you trying to get better for? So that you can be the mat enforcer in your dojo? Okay, maybe that's your goal. But you'd still could benefit from going out in competition and going up against somebody who doesn't give a shit that you think that you can do something to them because they're like, I'm going to try to do something to you. And there's something about that, right? And again, like back to the self-defense thing, like, you really want to go take self-defense classes, but you never actually go into a real situation because like sparring in practice is not sparring in competition. It's really not. It's much more intense than that. And I know there are plenty of people, but what about this coach? He never competed. Well, then he doesn't know what it feels like. I'm sorry that people get their feelings hurt when I say that, but it's true, right? And this is like, I keep trying to tell people this. It's just like, if you haven't wrestled and you didn't do it competitively, you don't know what you don't know. And when you haven't done judo competitively and then you step out on the mat, you will find out very quickly that you don't know what you don't know. I found that happening to me. Oh shit, this guy's got a grip on me that I really don't know what to do because nobody grips me this hard and this forceful, right, in practice. So now I've learned from that. And I'm going to be practicing to get better at that thing because I want to get better, and I know that competition is going to help me get better. So let me go up against the last thing, which by the way, like I told you, there will be bunch of people commenting on because the title they don't like it because it hurts their feelings, and they live in fear and it hurts their feelings that I'm telling them that they should compete even though I'm not telling you you should compete. I'm just saying if you want to get better, it's not a bad idea to compete because it's more realistic as to like a real fight situation, right? And it's more realistic in terms of how good are you really, because now this person won't let you do shit, right? Whereas like in practice, they may be trying to work on only Uchimata or trying to only work on a single leg or whatever. And you don't know that they're not going 100% because they're probably not. Okay. And so let's talk about the last thing. And then this is the thing that I see all the time in jiu-jitsu, which is, right, I have a wife, I have kids, I need my body for work, or else I can't put food on the table. Okay. You know what? You're way more likely to get hurt in practice. You are. I have over 1,000 matches in competition wrestling. I've gotten hurt twice in competition. I can't even begin to make the list of all the things that I've broken and torn, concussions and everything else from practice. Jiu-jitsu too. I've actually never competed in jiu-jitsu. I've broken fingers, toes, ribs, right? Tweaked my shoulders that were bad, right? Tweaked my elbows that were bad, all from practice from years ago from wrestling, right? Dislocated both elbows. I've dislocated both shoulders. I have all kinds of spinal stenosis and stuff in my neck, right? I've numbness in my hands, all this stuff, right? And it doesn't, stopping, by the way, doesn't help because I did stop for a while when I was working on my postdoc and in the early part of my working towards tenure as a professor. And I'm telling you, stopping didn't help, right? And then the doctors even told me don't stop because degenerative spine is genetic in your family, and the best thing that you can do is build up and keep your strength of your spine because you're actually doing quite well with all things considered. So anyway, you're way more likely to get hurt in practice because you do it more often. Okay. I have so few injuries in any competition that I've ever done. It is there's a few things. One, you're more likely to see things online because this is what people post of people don't post their practice rounds all the time. There's very few people who are always recording in a practice room, right? You're going to see practice, you're going to see competition stuff. And then you can't believe highlights of things or the one-offs of things because they're not that common, right? Like have I seen like an injury in judo competition? Yes, like I've seen them, right? But and most of the time they're done because people do something stupid, like post their hand on a throw, right? And obviously people do this in competition too. We've seen it, right? In ADCC 2024, right? Dislocate your shoulder doing a hand post, which you should never do, right? Off a harai, which I talked about on my channel from a side body lock that you shouldn't do when you're pushing with a single leg because it's a perfect position for harai and uchimata. You have to break somebody's posture to throw them, and when you go for your side body lock like that, that's how you get thrown, and then you deserve it. Okay, when you get hurt because you did the wrong thing. But that happens in practice all the fucking time. Okay, I've seen people get hurt more in practice. We actually had a guy get hurt last semester from that, right? Pushing, trying to run behind somebody, right? And then in the MMA class, oh, I'm going to take your back standing. Okay, you're going to get a sotomaki komi. And then when you put your hand out, then you dislocate your own shoulder, right? Practice is going to hurt you more, right? You're biased because of the internet showing competition footage of people getting hurt, right? It's not more common. It's not more common. I'm telling you, okay? It's just not. You can make all the excuses that you want and you can use them if you want, and that's fine, just as long as you know that that's exactly what it is. And people say all the time, like, oh, well, you don't need your hands for your profession, sure. Oh, really? I don't need my hands for my profession? Like, I'm a neurosurgeon, a small animal neurosurgeon, okay? I'm a neurophysiologist, and I type all day, papers. I need my fingers all the time, okay? But I don't make excuses. All right. So stop making excuses, right? If you want to get better at it, competing definitely helps. It's not necessary, but it certainly helps, right? Look at all the people who are really good at jujitsu. They're always competing. It's not an accident. You want to see how Brandon Reed got super good, super fast at jujitsu. Do you think it's because he wasn't competing? No, he's figuring out what he did wrong in competition, and then he's applying that to get better. This is how this works. Okay, so it is a mechanism for getting better. Is it the only mechanism for getting better? No. Is it a good one because it's realistic too, especially if you want to do self-defense? Yes. You've never been in a real fight before, right? Being in a simulated fight is right closer to a real fight, right? Except without the punching and the kicking and everything, but they're not going to give you anything. They're going and you're going to be up against somebody who also knows what they're doing and they're not going to give you shit, right? They're gonna stiff arm you out and all kinds of stuff that you have to know how to deal with. And you're not gonna learn how to deal with it as much in practice as much as you think that you are. It's when you go into those situations that you do. Okay, right. So am I telling you that you're a loser, that you don't compete? No. If that's what you're hearing from me, okay, then that's on you. It's not on me. I didn't call you one. I'm not telling you that you are. All those sorts of things. That's you. That's your insecurities. Those are your problems, and you need to work through those, right? And I find that this is a really, really common thing. It's super common. And because jujitsu sort of pulls in people who have never done grappling styles as a child, and they didn't build up that sort of like that mental fortitude that you can get when you're young, and you have to freaking grind yourself through wrestling practice and stuff like a lot, right? Like, and I've talked about how jujitsu is hard too. I've talked about it on the channel, right? It's super hard. Getting smashed under somebody who's a lot bigger than you for a long round where a ref can't save you does suck. Okay. But what I'm saying is that if you haven't gone into it when you're 40 and stuff, right, then you are going to have those fears sort of own your life more. And maybe it's just a fact. Okay. Like, and so you can work through these things, right? So if you do what's easy, your life's going to be hard in a lot of ways because you're going to let fear control your life, right? But if you do what's hard, then your life can be easier because you're not going to run away from things that are hard, right? Do what's easy. Do what's easy, your life will be hard. Do what's hard, your life will be easy. Okay, so this is just one way that you could do those things. But I have found that they have translated into a lot of things in my life. I would easily do another PhD, right? I have a PhD in neuroscience. I'm a professor. I'm sitting in my office. I would easily do another PhD in another hard degree before going and trying to do another run in collegiate wrestling. That's that much harder. This one, it's harder mentally, okay? Because the freaking grind is relentless and having to deal with losses and having to deal with the structure of having to lose weight and all of these things, it builds a character that you can't get anywhere else, All right. And so going to practice is great and you should. And I commend everybody who's doing this stuff for whatever reason that you're doing it. But if you're reaching out to me and you want to get better, okay, I'm telling you that competing will get you better and a lot faster because you're going to find out what you're not good at. Okay, so take it for what it's worth. Thanks for watching the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like and subscribe. Have a good day.